That's the end? Okay. Alright, that's the end. We did it. Credits, baby. Alright, first things first. The bottom center of the screen says that we've beaten 123 games this year and 445 since we started doing this in 2020. Those are numbers that are now incorrect. We've now beaten 124 games in 2023 and 446 games since we started doing this in 2023. Let's fucking go. Alright. So, yeah, I have things. So almost everything I feel about this game is positive. Just from a Metroidvania standpoint, for the things that make Metroidvanias fun, this game has it, and it has it in a really kind of fast-paced way. It's not a super long game, but it's not super short either. But I like how it's built. You go to an area, you complete the area, you get an ability. It gives you an ability that can go into a different area, and then you complete that area, you kill the boss in that area, you get that ability, and you go to the next area. I like how it's very clearly segmented. That's my like autistic brain loves that crap. So the way that it makes it really easy to divide up the videos too. So there's the way that it's segmented, it's very like, boom, you go to this, you get this thing, it gives you the ability to go here, you kill this guy, you do this thing. It's very fast paced, it doesn't really ever let up. It's very like, it keeps at a good clip the whole time and never really, it's never a slog, right? So I love that. Let's talk about more overview. Let's talk about the story and the art style. Both of them were excellent. The story is really cool. It's simple enough, but it's really cool. The characters are great. It's very well written. And the animation is maybe the best thing about this game. I mean, it is so over the top, visceral, like gory, sexy. It's got this weird, like, meets Ren and Stimpy kind of vibe. It's awesome. The art style is amazing. I wish this were a television show. I would watch it. I would watch the shit out of this television show. It's just very, very well animated, and just the way the combat looks and stuff is super cool. And yeah, I really cared about the characters, especially toward the end. So I loved all that. Let's see, other good things. The combat was mostly good. I have a little bit of a bone to pick with it. We'll get to that in a second. But for the most part, when you're fighting regular enemies and even most of the bosses, the combat combos are really cool. It's not too complicated, but you've got some abilities that you can thread in there, and it works really well. It's very well put together. It's very well done. Complaints. I have a couple of little ones. I don't have any really big ones, but I do have a couple of little ones. I thought that there were some areas that had a lot of insta-kill, like spikes on the wall, like things that if you touched them you died. I thought that was a little much. There were some areas that felt a little bit like Celeste, where you have to like dash through these areas, and you had to be very precise with your platforming, which is cool. I like that stuff. I loved Celeste. But the thing that made that tolerable was that if you died, you woke up right there on that same screen. This game usually would put a save point pretty close to those spots, but not always, and sometimes not quite close enough, to the point that it got pretty annoying, especially toward the end. There was a lot of insta-kill areas. There's no insta-kills in like the whole first half of the game, and then suddenly they come out of nowhere, and by the end they're like all around. And those insta-kills, it's hard for me to justify them from like a fun perspective. It's just like, if you put a save point right there so I can keep trying again, fine. And they did a couple of times, but sometimes it'd be a couple of rooms over, and sometimes a couple of times it was worse than that. I didn't love that, just from, I don't know. Who's like, oh, I really love it when they put those spikes on the wall that kill you instantly. That makes the game more fun for me. I realize that it raises the stakes a little bit, but that's everyone's least. That's going to be everyone's least favorite part of this game. I guarantee it. The other problem that I had was that as much fun as the combat was, you got to a certain point where even with just basic attacks, if you understood the dash, you could pretty much just attack any enemy as long as you wanted without getting hit. The only time I got hit was when I made a stupid mistake. I rolled the wrong way or something like that, or hit the wrong button. Outside of that, like, the game got to us once I learned the combat. It's easy. It's pretty easy, and I think maybe the main reason for it is that the iframes in the dash, the roll, and really the dash and the roll, the iframes are so generous that you don't really even have to be precise. As soon as you see an attack coming, you can just start rolling, you'll roll right through it. I'm down for that kind of thing. That's normally that kind of thing is fine and even necessary in a game like this with this kind of combat, but the iframes were the invincibility frames were so generous that I would be just regular punching a big boss that I just seen for the first time, and just punching it, and then whenever I see attack, okay, I see an attack, I'm gonna roll, and then just kill it. So I died 156 times, so I'm not saying the game was too easy, but I am kind of saying that, because guess where 130 of those deaths came from? Those spike insta-kills I was talking about. Really, the bosses, I probably died 10 times total to all the bosses in the whole game. Maybe 15. And the other times that I died was just dumb mistakes. I hit the wrong button, or I wasn't paying attention, So overall, I think the combat, especially the iframes, made the combat a little easy. And I don't remember seeing any difficulty settings. So I think that was a little overboard on the generosity with the iframes. That's a nitpick. It was still really satisfying, the combat. The ultimate question I have to ask myself when I decide where I'm going to rank this is where it's going to rank among other Metroidvanias. I've played a lot now. I hadn't played any Metroidvanias before I started doing this in 2020, and now I've played most of the big ones. I think about Hollow Knight, I think about the Ori games, I think about Blasphemous, I think about Axiom Verge. Where does this rank among those? And I think the answer is it's going to rank pretty well. I'm not saying it's my favorite of those. It probably isn't. But like, when I think of like what those games have that make them special, a lot of it's the visual style. Like, for instance, Ori. Hollow Knight's the visual style and the awesome combat and boss fights. This combat and the bosses in combat don't match up to Hollow Knight, but they definitely do match up to Ori. And the visual style in this game is just as cool. That's a really tall order, but it's also it's in the same ballpark. It's a very, very different kind of art style, but the art style really propels this game forward because it's so fucking cool. So, do I like it as much as those games? I don't know. I definitely like it more than the first Ori game, but I have a notorious opinion on not really liking the first Ori game. I love the second one because it fixed the combat. So I'll have to figure that out. But the fact that it's even in the conversation with games like Hollow Knight and Ori and the Will of the Wisps, that's good. That means that this game is very good. And I really don't have any negative things to say. It was the perfect length. Some of those games tend to drag a bit. And some of them are too short. This one was a perfect length. And it wrapped up really nicely. It was very satisfying. The gradual progression that you get with your traversal mechanics and your combat upgrades and stuff like that was very satisfying. So I really don't have any big problems with it. Just a couple little nitpicks with the combat and the insta-kills. And that's really it. I loved it. I loved this game. Yeah, I did. I was like, did I really love it? Yeah, I loved this game. I'm going to remember this game for a long time. So I'm glad I played it. All right, that's it. Last order of business, cookie cutter. I'm so glad that this just last minute decision decided to play this game before 2023 ends. I'm so glad that I did. But we are now going to delete you from our console and never play you again. Bye! Later!